Oh my gosh. Did we just get caught in the cuddles? Uh-oh. Sorry, not sorry. So today, for Relocate with Lori Robin, we are going to be quick, hopefully, because I'm super hungry. And if you have not eaten recently, this is your invitation to eat as well. So it is Monday. And Mondays are when, if you have not noticed, I pull my energy cards for the week. So I'm going to do an overview of this week's collective energy for you, which is the Black Egg, one of the spirit cards. And for my reading today, I actually pulled 3 spirit cards, and there's only 7 in the whole deck. So I'm feeling pretty razzle-dazzled up with that. So what do you need to know about Black Egg energy? So this energy is really associated with your throat chakra. So this week there's a lot of collective energy around expressing your truth and speaking from a really authentic place. And what this really feels like for me, Teddy's hair is so funny. What this really feels like for me is that we've had about 2 to 4 weeks, depending on where you are, if you're in the United States, of having this adjusted life situation of the pandemic. So whether that's been quarantine or just like a difference in your workflow or even having a job or not, differences in like what places are open. So it's been on average, I say between 2 weeks to a month of this impacting your life. So at this point, while every day changes, we have a new familiarity with what's unfamiliar. We know to expect things that are uncertain, and perhaps we're getting at a place where we're feeling some sort of flow. It may not be like the lazy river, but we're at least at a point where it's like rapids that we can survive, hopefully. And so what that means also is we have an opportunity to now really think about and listen for what is our deeper truth. Or maybe there's a few. What things have been bubbling up to the surface, but until this week we haven't had a chance to really hear it and then express it. And so we have this Black Egg energy, which allows us to really feel clarity and not have much confusion around what our desires are. And so if you haven't had access to this type of energy before, then you may feel sort of overwhelmed on like, what is my truth? How do I get to that? And so something that I would really suggest, and that's in line with this energy, is really seeking and going towards opportunities to do things like writing, reading, singing, teaching someone maybe something that's really special or important to you that you enjoy. If you have any opportunities to speak to other people, just really activating that throat energy as much as you can, and again within limits, so don't force yourself, but whenever there's opportunities where that is a choice, just explore what that feels like for you. And another thing that I would love to offer are a few questions to journal. And so if this was like a live situation, I'd be like, oh, give me your reflections, but these questions excuse me, that's my throat chakra saying, yep. These questions take a little more time. They're about self-reflection. Because again, if we're going to be speaking our unfiltered truth, we might have to do some prompting and poking and prodding of ourselves to realize what that is, because most of us have been conditioned to not even ask ourselves what our desires or truth are, because that wouldn't be in accordance with what our expectations, the expectations that are given to us are. It would be like marching to the beat of our own drum instead of taking orders. So this is risky, but in a safe, contained way. So I have 2 questions for you that are from the Black Egg energy card itself, but they are questions that have actually been on my heart a lot the past few days. So hey-oh, synchronicities. So the first question is, what do I know to be true about myself? And one thing I want to offer with this is a suggestion of maybe doing like a brain dump. I actually think of them as mind maps of just getting everything out that's coming out and flowing out, and then perhaps layer on a few filters. So the first one is this kind? And I want to note a difference between kind and nice. Nice is when you hold back truth to not offend or to not have conflict. Kind is sharing something authentically in a way that isn't malicious and that you're not harming anyone. You're just expressing like, hey, this is a reality that we need to discuss. So have a filter of which ones of these are kind. And I offer that because we might be prone to sharing truths that aren't actually true about ourselves, of thinking that we are lesser than we are because that's what people have told us. So this lens helps us filter out what might not be true to us because it's something that someone else has projected onto us. And so another filter is it honest? Like, is this really getting to the root of what I could share? Another filter question would be, is it necessary? Like, is this fact, opinion, truth essential to my being? So for example, if I have a truth that I wrote out that I like, nope, I almost said Captain Crunch. Well, Captain Crunch. I almost said Cinnamon Toast Crunch, but I don't like cinnamon cereal. Just bought some for my husband. But if I wrote that I like Captain Crunch, I do like Captain Crunch cereal, but that doesn't feel like a deep truth that I need to shout out into the world right now. So while it's kind, it's not passing any judgment on anything, and also not harming anyone, but is it really something that is like very momentous and important in my life that needs unearthed? Perhaps not. So while it's still a valid truth to have on there, it's not getting as deep as I want to go with this experience. And so then by asking ourselves, like, is this necessary to our well-being? That's another lens to really make sure that this is getting to the type of truth, and think this is a spirit energy. So this is something cosmic and divine. So this is really saying, like, what are the seeds planted within you that you need to share out and activate using your voice and your expression and creativity. And so that question with those filters are really great to journal, draw, write, read, sing, any of the things that you're feeling drawn to that really are about expressing truth. Any of those platforms would be great ways to experience this. And the second question, which is something I think about all the time, is what is true about the world? So again, you can apply those same filters or variations. Excuse me, my voice is agreeing with me. Come on, Teddy. So, what's true about the world? These are things like, what systems am I told to believe in? So like a system could be capitalism. It could be more like social constructs of like, my worth is only tied to my productivity. That I can only feel one emotion at a time. Like, there are different things that we're told that really define the world around us. So how are we really aware of what our beliefs are in the world? So by asking ourselves that question, what's true about the world, it really gives ourselves an ability to see, like, what do we believe? And then I would challenge you to think critically. My yoga mentor, Felicia Savage Friedman, says, be a critical lover. So really, even if something feels so comfortable and familiar to you, challenge yourself to say, where did this belief come from? What's influencing how I see the world? And who benefits from the beliefs that I have? Who benefits from the story that I have been told and that I bought into? So if you're seeing the world as being just and there's no instability and everything is all right, who benefits from that story? And think about then a potential reframe of introducing a different belief just to consider, of really thinking of, well, maybe how I see the world is because of certain privileges I've experienced. And again, privilege doesn't mean that you don't have hardships. It just means that you don't have hardships because of who you were born. And so, that's the second question to explore with this week's Black Egg Energy. And something to notice or to just be aware of is that this type of energy is almost like hovering. So not quite swarming. It's not an aggressive energy at all, but it's really hovering, almost like lurking in the corner, just wanting us to reconnect with ourselves. It wants us to give birth to our truth from our voice. So this is really about standing at the top of your own mountaintop and shouting out your own praise of, like, I am Lori Robin. I am here to guide people who want to return back to themselves. I'm here to be my silly but fiercely loving self, so that way the world can dream of a different way of being that feels right for more people. And eventually it'll be a place that's loving and kind for all people. You know, if that's really, oh, Teddy likes that. Thanks. If that is really my truth and what I believe, then really sharing that this week. And so I invite you to really explore this black egg energy and really dare to ask yourself what's your truth. And it doesn't have to be a truth that never ends. That's the other thing. Something that you may have felt was your truth 6 months ago may not be true right now. You know, you may have really thought, oh, I want to be an accountant, and labeling yourself as like that profession was your identity. But you know, maybe right now your truth is that you don't want to see another number at all, and you are just hopeful and waiting for the like quarantine to be over. That way you can just be around more people. And then from that, maybe what ends up happening is you realize you want to be teaching accounting to people, so that way they learn that skill set. I mean, yeah, that's a few steps ahead, but really just challenge what your truths are, so that way you can really distill down and filter out things that might be true but not aha moments within yourself. So, and if you happen to be a writer, editor, musician, a teacher, anyone who like artists, creatives, anyone who by default is creating and expressing often, really feel into this energy, because this is where the rest of the collective is really attuned to this frequency, so your messages can be heard much more clearly with far less effort. So you can really share out a new offering, or something that you've been toying with, or experience that you've had, and really be heard and have more people be in your audience group, and really be able to feel that ripple happening, because everyone else's energy is going to be more perceptive of this. So they may not realize why, but they're like, oh, well, like I've heard you say that phrase before, but it didn't really click as to what you were talking about. But this week I got it. And so, yeah, again, this is my invitation to be curious about your voice. If you usually type notes in your phone memos, or like memos in your notes app on your phone, maybe try to do voice, oh my gosh, my brain, voice memos. Maybe make videos. Maybe call a friend that you usually just text and see, you know, how engaging is the conversation. Although a lot of us are screened out from Zoom and things like that for work right now, but just explore with how you can express yourself. And so again, we're going to do a fast recap. This week's energy is the black egg energy. It's one of the spirit cards, which is very exciting because again, this is a time for like quantum shifts. So the amount of like truth and light and love that you can honor and speak out this week is going to really ripple and be magnified. So you can, if you need a little prompt, you can then think of this as, what is your truth right now? You can think of this, what has your truth been over time and what's feeling more accurate right now? Or really, like, you've made it 2 to 4 weeks, however long, through this quarantine and pandemic process. What is your truth in this moment? Is your truth just like, I need 10 fucking minutes away from my family? Is your truth that, you know, I'm actually more stable than I thought, and it's actually okay if I think of myself as like middle class and not lower income, and that means that I can then give more resources, I can be of support, I can volunteer or whatever. I mean, those are just a few examples that came up to me, but what is your truth? And then in the power in realizing that, I'm getting excited and also hungry. The power in realizing that is that then you can have such great ripple effects in your own life and the lives of those around you by being your own damn self. So how can you be who the fuck you are and on a deep level know who you are, not just the surface level things we identify with because we're expected to, or that oftentimes our identities are, or how we decide to share ourselves, have a lot of built-in layers of defense mechanisms. Like, I know that I am working through some of that myself. But how can we really stand in our truth? And again, take the time to sit and figure out what our truths are, even if they're just our truths for this week. Write, draw, play, sing. So yeah, that's in a nutshell. I said this was going to be quick, but 15 minutes of the black egg energy for this week. So if any of this resonates, if you have questions, reach out. You can, I guess, leave a comment on YouTube here, or you can go to Instagram at Improviding, Improviding, and send me a message. Thank you again. This is, if this is your first video seeing it, what I'm doing until the quarantine is over is something that I'm calling commute to community time. So I'm spending time I would normally be commuting and pivoting that time to be time of building community. So each day that I would typically be working, I'm having a video, sharing that out as just an opportunity to connect, make people feel a little more connected, have an option of having someone to connect to. And I encourage and welcome anyone who feels called to have some similar practice to do that too. Yeah, and as always, have a razzle dazzle day. And remember, if it's going a little rough, you can put an F on the front of it. On a date, F in front of it, and have a frazzle dazzle day. Whee! All right, I'm gonna wake Poppy up real quick so you can say bye. Oh, me cranky. We're gonna go eat. Say bye. Happy Monday.